Last week, I walked you through an AI email classifier that we built. That is, a workflow that reads every email in your Gmail inbox, decides whether it is a newsletter, promotional, or something else entirely, and routes each one to a different place automatically. A lot of you asked to see it built rather than being explained. So that is what this video is. I'm going to show you blank canvas, node by node being connected together, everything from the scratch. And we'll also test it live with 4 different emails. Alongside, co-founder of Orchestrix, alongside Nick, we build AI automations and web products for businesses. Let us open n8n and start. Before I add any single node, let me tell you some of the things we'll be needing for this workflow. One of it is our Google Sheets. Here, I have this Google Sheet. It's called Email Classifier. I have different sheets inside: the newsletter, the spam, the promotional, the uncategorized. What does this mean? Any mail that comes in and it's a newsletter, I want it to go to the newsletters sheet. Same for the others. After this, the next thing I need is my API keys from Groq. So you go to groq.com. While you are in, open your account. It's free. Then you click on API keys. Create API key. I'm going to create an API key now. I'm going to give it a display name, live test, with no expiration. Then I click on submit. My API key is already created. I have my API key here. All I need to do is to copy it. When the time comes, then I'll be able to use it. Next is my API reference. I get this from the documentation of Groq. You go to in Groq, you click on API reference, you have this, because we'll be needing these for our HTTP in n8n. Lastly, the next thing is Google Mail connection. So we start. The very first node I'm going to use is the Gmail trigger. I'll click on add, then I search. Now, on message received as a trigger, this lightning bolt icon shows that this is a trigger. We have others as actions. So I can't use any of these actions as trigger. I can only use this one that it's under trigger as the very first step. I'm going to click on this. I've already connected my own Gmail. However, you may be asked to connect yours. All you need to do is to click on this pencil icon. It brings you here. You sign in with Google and you'll be able to connect your Gmail. Now, the next thing, I'm going to set this. I want the pulling trigger. This is a pulling trigger. This Gmail node is a pulling trigger. What do I mean by that? When email comes in, you need to go and check. The workflow needs to go to the inbox to check if an email has come in. So that is why it's a pulling trigger. It's not an instant trigger. Now, what's the mode? How often do you want it to check? This is where you set it up. I'm going to set mine every minute. Then, the next is event. I'll leave this as message received. I'm going to simplify these and see if all the data I need, all the fields I need, comes in. Now, maximum emails per pull. That is, every time it runs, how many emails should it bring? So it depends on how often you receive your email. I'm going to leave this as 10, and I'm going to put in some filter. Do I want it to include spam and trash? No, I don't want it. I toggle that off. Do I want it to include drafts? No, I don't want. So anything you don't want, you can always come here and toggle it off. So let me see the read status. I only want it to pick unread emails. Next is to test the trigger. Before I test the trigger, I'm going to rename this node. We have it as Gmail trigger. I'm going to rename it to something like new email. The reason for this is because by the time I come here in the next 3 months to check this workflow, I want to be able to understand at a glance what this node does. Now I can test. I'm going to fetch test events. Let's see what it brings in. Now see, this is the email we have in our email box. And let us not forget, we set this to simplify. Let's check our outputs. Now, here we have these. We have the subject, the from, the to. Do we have the date? We don't have the date, and we don't have the body. We have the snippet. I don't want to depend on the snippet. I want the full body. I'm going to toggle these off. I'm going to fetch this test event again. Now I have the full body. I have the body of the email, the HTML, and the text. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to clean it with the next node. The next node I'm going to add is a set node. I'm going to set for set node here, and I'm going to also rename it to something like email fields. This has been renamed. One of the things I want to do here is to pick the specific fields I want to use from the Gmail trigger. Now, the mode will be set to manual mapping. We'll leave these like this. Then I'm going to add the necessary field. I'll click on add field. I'm going to give it a name. So this will be from, I want to know who sent the email. This will be from the name of this field. And I'm going to drag, that is, I'm going to map the field from the previous, which is the Gmail node. This is my from. I just need to drag it right. Now I've dragged these into this box, and this is an expression. This is not a fixed data. It's an expression. When you drag something from an output into any of these, it becomes an expression automatically. Next is to add my subject field. I'm going to use the same approach by just dragging. The third one will be the body of the email. One thing I want you to note is that whenever this triggers the Gmail node, it gives us two outputs as the body, the HTML and the text. And for the HTML, it's the same thing, the same body that is there. However, it's wrapped up in markup. It has a lot of decorations, a lot of things, signatures and everything inside, which I don't need. Now, I'm going to map the text here. One thing I want you to note is that if you send the HTML to AI will have to read past all the tags, all the font sizes, the declarations, the things that it really doesn't need. And this would make us to consume more credits. The plain text will give our AI exactly the information that it needs. Next is to add the date field. I'm going to add the date field here. If you observe, before we toggle off the simplify button, the output did not come in with base. Lastly, I'm going to add the message ID. This is the message ID. I'm going to map it here. Now, I'm going to run it now so you can see the base. Can we see what came out from the set node? We have 5 fields. One thing to note is that every node we have works with the data we have in the set node. The next node we want to have here is the HTTP requests. This is where the email gets classified. The email coming in, we want to be able to classify it if it's a spam, promotional, newsletter, or uncategorized. So I'm going to search for the HTTP here. The method there will be post. However, there is something I want to do here. I'm going to go over to my in Groq. I'll copy this, go back to my workflow and import it. It will help us to set everything. I'm just going to click on imports. Let's see what happens. Now, it's automatically changed the method to post. It has changed the URL to the right one. We just need to set up something minimal here. Now, the authentication, I'm going to use a generic credential where I can set up my API using header authorization. Now, since I'm using header authorization, I can always switch this send headers off. So this has been switched off. I'm going to put my API key right inside here. Now, the name is authorization. And the value, bearer, you type bearer with a space and you copy your API, paste it here, and then save. Credentials saved. We can close this. Now, the thing, our JSON body was imported here. However, I'm going to copy and paste mine, the one I'm going to use, with my prompt, everything right inside there, and I will show us. Now, this is my own body content. We are using JSON. Let me go through the body with us. My maximum token is set to 256 because I'm only asking the AI for a category and just a one sentence summary. There is nothing much I'm doing. So that's the reason why I set mine to 256. If you are doing a lot, kindly increase yours. Now the temperature, I've set mine to 0 because I don't want it to be creative with imaginations. Your temperature controls how much randomness your AI model introduces. If you increase it, it's get a bit creative. Now, for what we are doing, that might be because we just want it to categorize the emails coming in. That's why I set mine to 0. You can also set it to something like 0.2 because what we need here is a bit of consistency. My response format is also JSON. What does this do? This gives me like a third output. Otherwise, you might be getting these as your output. But with these, I have a structured output. Next is this system message. I have my prompts here. And inside this prompt, I went further by telling it what a spam email is, what a promotional email is, what a newsletter email is, and every other ones that will be as uncategorized. If I just wrote something like classify this email, the AI would decide on its own, and that might be a bit harmful. I'm going to execute this step, and let's see. This is the response we got. Here, the response is in the content. We have the email type to be newsletter, and we also have the summary. So this is nested. We are going to have these into our code. I'm going to change the name of this HTTP request to Classifier with Groq AI. Thereafter, I'm going to my code node. I'll set for code here. What's the job of the code node? The job of the code node is to take the nested response that the AI gave us and turn it into something that we can use. I'm going to select JavaScript. I have my code already. I'm going to expand these and remove the code inside there and use this. Let's run these and let's see what it will give us. And there is it. We can see the nested response the third node gave us. The response was that is, it wasn't splitted like this. The code helped us to split it out, gave us the email type and also the summary. And this is exactly what the rest of the workflow needs. That is, the next nodes we will be connecting, we can easily the AI response right from here. Before I add the next node, I'm going to rename these to something like this. Now, let me walk us through what we have built so far. The first thing we did was to set up our email trigger. That is, whenever an email comes in, the first node will pick it up. Next is for this node, the second node, start email field, for it to help us to clean up the mails coming in. After cleaning it up, it sends it over to the Groq AI to help us to classify. Now, whenever the Groq AI classify, the response comes in a nested format. We use the code to split out. Before we add the next node, I'm going to rename my workflow. Instead of my workflow 4, I'm going to call it AI email classifier. Next is to add the switch node. What switch node do? The switch node will help us to make a decision. It serves as a decision point. It will look at the output of the fourth node and check if it is promotional. Go to the promotional sheet. I'm going to set the mode to rules. We have rules, we have expression. I'm going to set this to rules, and I'm going to put the routing rules. What will be our routing rules? It is the email type. If the email type is equal to, I want it to pass. I'm going to drag this here, and it will be this is equals to. Now, I can rename the output. I just don't want it to be output 1 or output 0 or output 2. So I'll rename these as newsletter. Next is to add other rules. The next thing I want to do is to enable the fallback output. We have set 3 different rules. That is, the email type is either newsletter, spam, or promotional. Now, in our AI, we also ask it to categorize those outside these 3 categories, the uncategorized mails. Now, I'm going to set these as extra output. That is, once there is an extra output that does not meet the rules, it comes right inside. Let's execute this thing. I'm going to go out of here and I'm going to show you what we have. One thing I want to do is to change this fallback. Instead of showing fallback or written as fallback, I want to change it to uncategorized. I'm going to go back to the switch node. I'm going to add another option, and that will be rename fallback output. I'm going to rename it as uncategorized. This is done. The next thing I'm going to do is to add my Google Sheets node. And the action here will be add mail in Sheets. The name of my document is email classifier, and the name of my sheets will be the newsletter. That's the very first one. I'm done with the mappings. I'm going to do the same for the remaining 3 routes. Next thing I'm going to do is to add one more node on every single output that we have here. And that's the Gmail node. Why am I doing this? I wanted that whenever a mail comes in, it's categorized, it should be marked as read. This is the test email we have been using, now it has picked it up, it has categorized it. It was possible that whenever this workflow is published and it runs, it will pick this again. And we don't want that. We've set it up to only pick unread emails. If we have it not changed to read, that can be a bit messy for us because it can pick it again since the workflow runs every minute. So to do this, I'm going to add another Gmail node to this such that it will change it to read. This is the option I'll pick, mark a message as read. Now, to mark this message as read, we need a unique identifier. Something to identify that we have 100 emails in our inbox. Which of these should be marked as read? Now, to do that, we need the message ID. Let us not forget that is the reason why we mark the message ID in the second node, the set node. I'm going to check previous nodes so I can have the message ID here. So this has been marked. The next thing I'm going to do is just to duplicate. I'm going to duplicate. Before I duplicate, let me check. I'm going to execute this. Let's see if we have the error again. Let's check why we're getting this error. It says bad request. Please check your parameters. Invalid ID value. Let me check the ID value. Okay, right inside the ID value, we also have this message ID inside. So this error should be, let's check our mappings from the very second node. I'm going to go back to my set node. I'm going to check mappings. Now I can see where the error came from. I mapped from the header. That's where the error came from. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change everything I have here. The challenge is from this message ID. This should be our ID, not the other one that was mapped. So I'm going to remap this. This is our ID. I'm going to execute all these modes again. Now I can remap this. Since we have the real message ID, let's execute this. Right in our Gmail, we have this as unread. Let's see what happens. So this should go now. Yes, it has gone. Let's check. Can you see? It has changed it to read. So I'm going to do this for other routes. And I'm going to test with 2 to 4 different emails. One for each categories, so we can see how those run. I have 2 emails here. This is a spam, while this is an uncategorized email. And I have my workflow already published. Let me send the first one and let's see. Let's check the execution. This is run. And this goes to our spam. Let's check our spam. We have the email, it came in exactly. And let's check our inbox. I'm going to refresh this. Let's refresh and see. It should mark this as wow. Now let's go over to the second email. This one is the uncategorized. That is, this one is outside the 3 categories. I'm going to send these. This is not a newsletter. It's not a spam. It's not promotional. It's just like a normal work. It came in. It's in. Wow. Wow. We have it there. And as it's marked as read, by the time I refresh, it will be marked as read. Now, one thing I want you to know is, if I had only given the 3 categories, this would have fallen back. Yes, because we've set the routing rules to 3 categories with a fallback output. So this is the fallback output. That is the whole thing built from the scratch. We saw the Gmail trigger and the way the data was cleaned, down to the AI classification of each email coming in, 4 different outcomes after routing, every email marked as read, so nothing runs or nothing picks it twice. Oh, if your business needs something like this built properly, kindly reach us at Orchestrix. The link is in the description below. Also subscribe if you want to keep seeing how we build. See you in the next one.